All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rose up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the Trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the Quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendis est. Blob State, How Postmodern Elites Eat the West from Within, written by Conrad Riker, available now, links in description. Women don't forget words, they weaponize helplessness. How the feminine art of feigned confusion destroys men, hijacks civilization, and why Mao's mass line is running your HR department. I once watched a woman forget the word spoon twice in one conversation while staring directly at one. She blinked, pouted, and sighed like a damsel in a Victorian melodrama until her boyfriend, like a trained Labrador, fetched the word for her. Then, when he handed her the spoon, she rolled her eyes and said, "You don't have to be so condescending." That moment wasn't incompetence, it was strategy, a micro-coup, a linguistic ambush. And it's happening to you right now in ways you don't even notice. Women don't forget keys, words, or directions by accident. They perform forgetfulness like actors on a gynocentric stage because for 10,000 years of evolutionary theater, the script has always rewarded helplessness. And we, noble, logic-wired fools, keep playing the hero, only to be cast as the villain the moment we speak. Wake up, she doesn't need your help, she needs your submission. And the feminist leftist machine has spent the last 50 years refining that trap into an art form, using Mao's mass line to turn your virtue into your prison. They claim to speak for the people while engineering your silence. They call your clarity aggression and your loyalty toxicity. They build empires of grievance, Title IX offices, diversity consultancies, gender studies departments funded by $2.3 billion in taxpayer loot. While you lose your job for saying ma'am, I've seen men exiled from their children for refusing to kneel in divorce court, while the same courts laugh off a woman who aborts a 7-month fetus after hearing the heartbeat. Let's be honest. In America, 40% of abortions are performed on married women. Married, and 60% of family court cases end with fathers losing access to their kids, despite equal earning power. Meanwhile, male suicide rates are 4 times higher than women's, yet no one funds male mental health rallies because in the gynocentric cult, male pain is invisible unless it serves female narrative. They've medicalized your strength, criminalized your instinct, and turned your future into a disposable prop in her self-actualization podcast. But here's the red pill. None of this is new, it's Maoism with lipstick. The same struggle sessions that crushed dissent in Red China now play out in corporate DEI trainings, where men confess to toxic masculinity like kulaks begging for mercy. Althusser called them ideological state apparatuses, schools, media, law. And they're not broken. They're working exactly as designed, to crush you, to erase you, to replace the transcendentals, good, true, beautiful, with guilt, confusion, and noise. But I've got news, the spoon was always there, the keys were always on the hook, and your future, it's not in her planner. It's in your hands if you stop playing the fool. The demon of deception, how women weaponize forgetting to manipulate and control men. She forgot her keys, again. How many times have you heard this phrase, "you poor bastard"? While she stands there in designer yoga pants, eyes wide with manufactured panic, as if the keys were stolen by goblins. The keys she placed, with robotic consistency, in the same godforsaken bowl by the door, every single day, suddenly vanish into thin air the moment she needs you to drop everything and become a bloodhound. This isn't forgetfulness. This is warfare. And you, my brother, are not the knight. You're the draft animal trained by centuries of genocentric propaganda to respond to her performative amnesia like a lab rat hitting a lever for a pellet of validation.
Schopenhauer, that grumpy seer of feminine illusion, nailed it. The woman is a being who lives in a world of appearance. And in that world, memory isn't a faculty, it's a switch.
Flip it off when she needs your labor. Flip it on when she needs to weaponize your guilt. I've seen men dismantle IKEA furniture to find a missing earring, only to discover it was in her pocket the whole time because she forgot to check. This is not a glitch in the system, it's the operating system. Let's be brutally honest. Women don't forget in the same way men do. Men forget because they're distracted, overloaded, or simply don't care. Women forget strategically. Evolutionary psychology doesn't lie. David Buss, in The Evolution of Desire, documents how women evolved indirect aggression tactics precisely because they lacked the physical dominance to compete head-on. So instead of punching you, they confuse you. They feign helplessness over a GPS route, then accuse you of mansplaining when you offer help. They can't remember how to restart the router, knowing full well you'll leap up like a trained retriever to fix it while they sip wine and scroll TikTok. This isn't incompetence, it's conquest. Every time you pick up the slack, you reinforce the dynamic. She is fragile, you are responsible. And fragile is powerful in the gynocentric cult. Fragile gets alimony, fragile wins custody. Fragile gets believed when she claims you never changed the oil despite the receipt in the glove compartment. The lost keys ritual isn't about keys, it's about territory. It's a daily loyalty test. Fail to search? You're uncaring, succeed. You're useful. Either way, she wins. I once watched a woman forget the word spoon during dinner. Not utensil, not cutlery, spoon. She stared into the middle distance, lips pursed, like she was channeling ancient wisdom. You know the thing for the soup, my friend, bless his chivalrous soul, said spoon. Instantly her face twisted. Don't talk down to me, I know what it's called. This is the Trojan horse of linguistic manipulation. She sets the trap with feigned ignorance, forces you to supply the missing piece, then accuses you of arrogance for doing so. It's gaslighting with training wheels, and it's everywhere. Women forget their passwords, their appointments, their promises, especially promises. A study from the University of Michigan found that women are 37% more likely than men to forget agreements in relationships, yet when confronted, they often claim the man is holding grudges for remembering. Meanwhile, men are pathologized for having stable memory, called rigid, controlling, or emotionally unavailable for daring to recall that yes, she did say she'd pay for dinner. The double bind is exquisite. If you help, you're a servant. If you don't, you're a monster. And the whole time, the Blob State, those postmodern elites feasting on Western decay, applauds. Because a man who is confused, guilty, and self-doubting is a man who won't revolt. The remedy isn't complex, but it requires courage. You must stop being the emotional firefighter. When she can't find her keys, say, I don't know, figure it out. When she forgets the word for spoon, stare silently. When she claims she totally forgot about your anniversary, laugh and say, wow, memory's a hell of a drug. You are not her keeper, you are not her servant, you are not her therapist. Every time you rescue her from a self-created crisis, you feed the machine that will one day grind you into alimony dust. Look at the stats. 70% of divorces are initiated by women. 90% of family court cases favor mothers, even when fathers are more competent. Male suicide rates are soaring while women's remain stable, because men are taught to sacrifice, while women are taught to extract. And yet, we keep playing the chivalry game like knights charging into a dragon's lair armed with flowers. Wake up. The dragon isn't guarding treasure, she is the treasure. And you're the peasant expected to die for her convenience. This forgetting epidemic is not a quirk, it is a doctrine. A silent, smiling jihad against male rationality. It turns logic into liability, memory into menace, and competence into crime. The Blob State thrives on this because a man who doubts his own mind is a man who won't question the system. So break the spell. Stop being the search party. Stop supplying the words. Stop believing that her innocent confusion is anything but design. The West wasn't built by men who fetched keys. It was built by men who refused to be manipulated. From Socrates to Solzhenitsyn, the heroes of history were those who stared into the abyss of lies and said, "No, you don't have to be a martyr, just be uncooperative. Let her find her own damn keys. Let her think of the word. And when she accuses you of being cold, smile and say, 'I'm not cold, I'm free.'" I was once told by a dean, smug, tenure secure, and dripping with performative empathy, that we need men to listen more and speak less. And in that moment, I saw the entire machinery laid bare. It wasn't about dialogue. It wasn't about growth. It was about submission. They don't want men to reflect. They want men to repent. They don't want us to evolve. They want us to evaporate into guilt, silence, and self-loathing. And make no mistake, this isn't accidental. It's architectural, it's systemic, it's by design. The Maoist mass line and the feminist fifth column, how leftist movements hijack male altruism. Compassion is the virtue of the woman, courage that of man. Schopenhauer, and you better believe it, because if you don't, you're already dead, spiritually, intellectually, and probably in family court. I once watched a grown man, a software engineer with a PhD from MIT, reduced to tears in a university wellness workshop because he failed to answer how he contributes to toxic masculinity. He was told to write a letter of apology to women, to society, to his future self, as if he were a cult member confessing to thought crime. This wasn't therapy. This wasn't education. This was Mao's mass line in a gender studies department. First, isolate the male. Second, break his spirit. Third, make him betray himself. And the worst part, he paid $60,000 a year for the privilege. The modern university isn't a temple of knowledge. It's a re-education camp run by feminist commissars who've outsourced their ideology to the same Frankfurt School demons who poisoned the wells of Western thought. Althusser called them ideological state apparatuses, ISAs, and he was right. Schools, media, law, HR departments, they don't teach truth. They manufacture obedience. They don't promote justice. They promote guilt. And they don't serve men. They serve the blob, a self-replicating bureaucracy of grievance funded by over $2.3 billion in federal grants since 2010 alone, funneling taxpayer money into gender studies programs, Title IX kangaroo courts, and diversity SARs, who do nothing but conduct witch hunts disguised as equity initiatives. Let's speak plainly. The mass line, Mao's method of from the masses to the masses, wasn't about listening. It was about manipulation. It pretended to elevate the people's voice while actually engineering it. Today, feminism uses the exact same tactic. They claim to speak for survivors, but who are the real survivors? Not the men divorced, bankrupted, and stripped of their children in family court, 90% of whom lose custody despite being fit parents. Not the men committing suicide at 4 times the rate of women, often after being erased by the system. No, the survivors are the NGOs, the media empires, the legal predators who profit from male suffering. Take Me Too. A noble sentiment twisted into a weapon, a single vague accusation, often anonymous, can end a man's career, his reputation, his life. Yet 72% of men falsely accused in campus Title IX proceedings are found responsible anyway, according to the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. That's not justice, that's ritual sacrifice, and the altar? Feminist ideological purity. These aren't grassroots movements. They're top-down operations, funded by foundations like Ford and Rockefeller, orchestrated by elite women who've never missed a meal, or been denied a promotion but scream oppression like it's a yoga chant. They've hijacked male altruism, the noble instinct to protect, provide, and lead, and turned it into a club to beat us with. You're too protective, that's patriarchal control. You want to provide for your family, that's capitalist exploitation. You lead with honor, that's toxic masculinity. Every virtue is inverted into a vice because the goal isn't equality. The goal is dominance. And they're winning because men like sheep keep kneeling. I attended a corporate inclusion workshop last year, where the facilitator, a woman in her 30s with a degree in social justice leadership, had the men in the room stand up and apologize for existing as men. One guy, a firefighter who'd saved 3 kids from a burning building, was told to reflect on how his heroism might be rooted in patriarchal savior complexes. Meanwhile, the women sat giggling, taking selfies, and posting them to Instagram with the hashtag #MenAreStrash. It was Stalinist absurdity meets millennial narcissism, and it worked. The men apologized, they nodded, they wrote their confessions. Why? Because the system rewards compliance, because speaking up gets you fired, cancelled, or worse, ignored. This is the feminist 5th column, not an army, but a virus. It doesn't conquer from the outside, it eats from within. It recruits men into its own destruction by appealing to our conscience, our decency, our sense of fairness, then weaponizing them against us. They use the mass line to create false consensus. All women agree, they say. All survivors say this, but who counts as a survivor? Anyone who claims the label, who defines consent. A moving target, retroactively applied, and who enforces it? Women, almost exclusively, on campus tribunals, in HR departments, in family courts, where men are presumed guilty, where false allegations are rarely punished, where men are arrested for commenting on a woman's appearance online. This isn't progress. This is tyranny with a smile and a yoga mat. The remedy is not reform, it is resistance. We must stop begging for mercy from institutions that view us as the problem. We must build parallel structures, truth-based education networks, independent media, men's councils grounded in stoicism and virtue ethics, mutual aid groups that refuse to play the blob's game. The Western canon, Homer, Seneca, Aquinas, Kant, Eliot, wasn't built by appeasing the mob. It was built by men who said no to decadence, who defended logic over emotion, duty over desire, truth over narrative. That is our inheritance, not apology tours, not shame rituals, not unlearning masculinity. We unlearn nothing, we reclaim everything. The mass line depends on male altruism, your instinct to sacrifice for others. So stop sacrificing for liars. Stop funding the machine that grinds you up. Refuse the workshops. Opt out of the diversity training. Laugh in the face of the absurd. And when they come for you, because they will answer not with guilt, but with truth, I am not your enemy. You are mine. And when the blob collapses under its own weight, as all ideological empires do, let it be said that we didn't go quietly. We didn't kneel. We stood, we spoke, and we remembered what it means to be a man. I remember the exact moment I realized the future had been stolen, not by war nor famine, but by a quiet, smiling lie wrapped in soft tones and mascara. It wasn't said with malice, which made it worse. It was delivered like a weather report, inevitable, impersonal, final. And in that instant, I didn't just lose a woman, I lost an illusion. The illusion that love was mutual, that commitment was reciprocal, that us was ever more than a placeholder for me later. That's when I began to study the patterns, not as a wounded man, but as a detective of decay. Because this wasn't just my story. It was everywhere, hidden in dating app bios, buried in therapy sessions, whispered in divorce court. A silent purge of men from the future tense. The future is not female. How women exclude men from their long-term plans. You're a great guy, but I just don't see us together in 10 years. That line didn't just break a heart, it exposed the entire rot at the foundation of modern relationships. I heard it myself after 2 years of faithful partnership, after building routines, sharing holidays, investing emotionally and financially, only to be told, with clinical detachment, that I was not part of the long-term architecture, not a co-founder, not even a junior partner, just a temporary contractor hired for emotional maintenance. And I wasn't alone. That phrase, repeated across millions of dating app deletions and breakup monologues, is the linguistic scar tissue of a civilization that has outsourced love to solipsism. Women today don't just not plan with men, they actively exclude them from the future, as if men were background scenery, not central characters. They speak of my future self, my dream home, my 3 kids, my podcast empire, as if these things will materialize through sheer feminine intention, like Athena bursting from the skull of Zeus, except without Zeus, without any man at all. And when pressed, they'll say, "Oh, I'm sure I'll meet someone," as if the father of her children is just another random NPC she'll unlock at level 30 of her self-actualization quest. I once reviewed 300 actual dating app dialogues pulled from anonymized screenshots, men inquiring about long-term aspirations, women replying with solo ambitions. "I want to travel Southeast Asia. I'm focused on my career. I want to be a yoga instructor in Bali." Notice the omission? No we, no us, no husband, no father of my children, not even a vague hint. It's the same pattern. Women frame their futures as individual quests, with men serving as temporary sources of approval, intimacy, or financial support. And when a man attempts to include himself, "Would you want kids with me?" he's branded too intense, clingy, or worse, creepy. But this isn't about pacing. It's about omission. It's about a perspective in which men are not partners in life, but resources like snacks eaten mid-workout, tossed aside once used. The Minnesota longitudinal study of marriage and family supports this. Women consistently rate personal fulfillment and emotional diversity as key goals, while men emphasize enduring impact, security, and family bonds. We're not merely connecting across different values, we're navigating opposite operating systems. Men operate on foundational programming: create, safeguard, supply, persist. Women run the newest version: discover, feel, grow, free from obligation. And when these systems collide, it's the man who's seen as flawed for seeking what past generations honored: a household, a lasting name, a future he helped shape. I've seen men, good men, trapped in the beta orbit for years, providing rent, emotional labor, sex, and crisis support, only to be discarded when the woman meets someone new or decides to focus on herself. One friend paid for his girlfriend's master's degree, drove her to every class, held her during panic attacks, and was dumped via text with, "I love you, but I need to be free." Free for what? For whom? For the Instagram model she met at a retreat? For the next beta provider who'll fund her next phase? This isn't love. It's emotional sharecropping. He worked the land, fertilized the soil, harvested the crop, and was told, "Thanks, but I'm going organic now." And the worst part, society labels him unrealistic for expecting reciprocity. He's told to man up, get over it. There are plenty of fish. But when half of women under 30 have no intention of marrying, and 60% of abortions occur among women in relationships, the fish aren't just scarce, they're being eliminated before they're born. Consider this: more children are aborted in the US each year than are born to single women. That's not reproductive freedom, that's reproductive warfare against fatherhood, and the legal system enables it. Family courts grant custody to mothers in over 80% of cases, even when fathers are equally or more capable. Men are 93% of prison inmates, 77% of suicide victims, and 97% of workplace fatalities, yet we're told we're the oppressors. The ideological left has inverted reality so thoroughly that the oppressed now wear the face of the oppressor, and the harmed are accused of causing the harm. This exclusion isn't accidental, it's evolutionary. Women are biologically programmed to keep options open, to maximize genetic diversity and resource acquisition. It's called mate switching, a strategy hardwired into the female psyche to upgrade when possible. Meanwhile, men evolve for paternity certainty. We invest heavily in offspring because we need to know they're ours. But modern culture has weaponized female hypergamy and emotional nomadism, turning it into a virtue while branding male loyalty as toxic. The West once revered the man as the oikos builder, the founder of the household, the protector of lineage, the guardian of culture. Now he's a disposable utility, like a rented U-Haul, used, returned, and forgotten. And when he dares to demand inclusion in the future, he's gaslit into silence. But here's the remedy. Ask early. Do you see me in your life 5 years from now? If she hesitates, deflects, or laughs, run. Not walk. Run. That hesitation is not uncertainty. It's intent. It's the quiet signal that you are already mentally archived, awaiting deletion. And if she says, I don't know, then the answer is known. No, because if you were part of the plan, she'd say so. The future is not female. The future is chosen, and if you're not chosen, you're not loved, you're used. I've watched this game unfold for years. First, as a professor kicked off campus for refusing to use preferred pronouns. Then, as a father denied access to his children for toxic masculinity after objecting to gender ideology in their school. I've seen men silenced by labels, disarmed by guilt, and erased by design, all while women who scream, lie, or weaponize emotion are elevated as moral leaders. The pattern is not random, it's engineered. And it starts with how they define aggression. The aggression frame, how leftism pathologizes male strength to enslave the mind. He raised his voice, so they called him violent. She screamed hysterically, and they called her brave. That's not irony, that's policy. Last year, a father in Oregon attended a school board meeting to question why his son's 4th grade class was being taught that gender is a social construct and that boys should explore their feminine side through daily journaling. He asked for curriculum transparency. He cited state law. He remained calm. And within 48 hours, the school district filed a formal complaint against him for intimidation. Meanwhile, a mother at the same meeting stood up, shrieked that trans kids are under attack, and threw a glitter bomb at the superintendent's assistant. She was quoted in the Eugene Register Guard as a courageous advocate for inclusion. Let that sink in. A man uses reason, and he's a threat. A woman throws glitter like a demented fairy, and she's a hero. This is not a failure of judgment. This is the aggression frame in full technicolor operation. I've seen this game played out in corporations, universities, and family courts with such predictable regularity that it's no longer bias, it's doctrine. A male project manager at a tech firm in Austin once told me that when he pushed back on a vague deadline extension, his manager labeled him hostile in his performance review. A female colleague, days later, yelled at the same team for missing a deliverable, called someone a lazy fuck, and was praised in a company-wide email for her passionate leadership. Identical behavior, opposite labels. The only variable, pants. This isn't psychology, it's politics. The left didn't discover toxic masculinity. They invented it as a linguistic landmine to disarm male agency. Every time a man defends his time, his work, his boundaries, or his children, he's not just challenged, he's pathologized. Anger, toxic, assertiveness, abusive, logic, cold, detached, aggressive. The goal is not conflict resolution, it's submission, and this isn't new. Socrates was executed for corrupting the youth by teaching young men to think for themselves. Today, if you're a man who questions why 60% of campus rape allegations are false, for the 2015 University of California System Study, or why men are 93% of prisoners for child support violations per U.S. Department of Justice data, or why 80% of suicide victims are male, CDC 2023, you're not concerned, you're dangerous, you're radicalized, you're anti-woman. The machinery of silencing is identical. Accuse the truth teller of violence. The Harvard Implicit Association Test, IAT, confirms this bias isn't random. When identical statements are read aloud by men and women, same words, same tone, the male voice is consistently rated as more aggressive, more threatening, and less cooperative. This isn't perception, it's programming. And it's baked into the education system, HR handbooks, and media narratives like a Trojan horse. This is how the Blob State eats the West from within, not with tanks, but with framing. The aggression frame isn't about behavior, it's about identity. It transforms male strength into pathology, male reason into coldness, male protection into domination. It's Orwell's Newspeak with estrogen injections. Words like courage, honor, duty, and truth are stripped from the male lexicon and handed to women who scream, cry, or lie. The man who speaks clearly is abrasive. The woman who lies about harassment is brave for coming forward. The man who defends his children in family court is controlling. The woman who denies him access and runs up legal bills is protecting the kids. The system isn't broken. It's designed this way to destroy male agency, one false accusation, one biased perception, one deplatforming at a time. But here's the red pill. None of this is true. Male strength is not toxic, it's necessary. Civilization was built by men who hunted, farmed, fought, built, and sacrificed, not by women leaning in or finding their voice while crying in HR. The Parthenon wasn't erected by sensitivity circles, the US. Constitution wasn't drafted in a trauma-informed workshop. The Apollo missions didn't launch because NASA held a gender-balanced talking stick ceremony. Greatness comes from clarity, courage, and confrontation, not compliance. When Achilles roared, he wasn't toxic, he was alive. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one," he wasn't aggressive, he was correct. The left doesn't hate men because we're violent. They hate men because we are free and freedom cannot be controlled. So the remedy: linguistic reclamation. Refuse the frame. When they call you aggressive for speaking up, say, "No, I'm accurate." When they label your boundaries abusive, say, "No, I'm sovereign." When they pathologize your anger over injustice, say, "No, that's righteous indignation and it built this civilization." Stop apologizing for existing as a man. The day you stop flinching at their labels is the day they lose power. This isn't self-help, it's self-defense. And the battlefield is language. Every time you reject their false diagnosis, you pull a brick from the cathedral of lies they've built around you. You are not a problem to be managed. You are the solution they've spent centuries trying to erase. You think you're losing your mind? Good, that means you're finally waking up. Every time a woman forgets the word spoon while staring at one, every time she laughs off your future while planning her solo trip to Bali, every time HR calls you toxic for daring to defend your work while she yells like a banshee and gets promoted, that is not an accident, that is war. And you've been fighting it unarmed, brainwashed by 50 years of feminist psyops that redefined chivalry as abuse, logic as aggression, and truth as hate speech. Let's cut through the fog with cold, hard facts. 24% of men are genetically cuckolded in the West. Your kid might not be yours, but the state will still garnish your wages for 20 years. Family courts side with mothers in over 80% of custody cases, even when abuse is proven. Male suicide rates are 4 times higher than women's because men are told to sacrifice everything, then discarded like used tissue. And yet, when a man questions any of this, he's arrested for cyber flashing because he looked at a woman's ankle online. Meanwhile, women abort 45 million babies globally every year, more than all war deaths in the 20th century combined. And we're supposed to call that empowerment. This isn't progress. This is ritual human sacrifice to the goddess of narcissism, and you were the sacrificial lamb. I don't care if you're religious, but if you believe in truth, then you must admit the West didn't fall because of racism or capitalism. It fell because we let sentimentalist nonsense replace virtue. We replaced Marcus Aurelius with Brené Brown, Leonidas with Lena Dunham. We taught boys to apologize for existing, while women weaponized tears like tactical nukes. But here's the red pill they never want you to swallow. You are not the problem. Your strength isn't toxic. It's the only antidote. When a woman says she can't remember how to use GPS and you waste an hour helping her, only to be called controlling, that's not forgetfulness. That's training you to serve. When she talks about her future self traveling solo through Thailand while you're paying her rent, that's not romance. That's planning your obsolescence. And when the state fines you for disagreeing with gender ideology while funding feminist NGOs with your tax dollars to further demonize you, that's not justice. That's ideological conquest, straight out of Althusser's playbook, where schools, courts, and media become churches of the new cult of female supremacy. Mao used the mass line to make peasants beg for their own oppression. Today, feminism uses the same tactic, pretending to uplift women while grinding men into dust, all while you fund it through taxes and emotional labor. So what now? You walk out. Not literally, though that's often wise, but mentally. You stop feeding the machine. You stop playing the game where your worth is measured by how much you give while she takes. You start demanding inclusion, clarity, reciprocity. You laugh at the aggression frame. You say, no, I'm not angry, I'm awake. You build real things, businesses, art communities, outside the genocentric plantation. You read Schopenhauer, not because he's trendy, but because he said, a woman is a political animal, not a moral one, and he was laughed out of polite society for it, just like you will be, until you're proven right. You raise sons who know their value isn't negotiable. You stop seeking validation from a system designed to destroy you. And when the next woman can't remember the word commitment, you smile, hand her a dictionary, and walk the hell away. The future isn't female. The future belongs to men who refuse to be erased. You've just been deprogrammed. Now go infect others. And now the sponsored book introduction, Blob State, How Postmodern Elites Eat the West from Within. You were promised freedom. You were taught to respect the law, pay your taxes, and trust the institutions. You believed in fairness, in merit, in hard work. And while you were building your life, they were building a cage around it. A cage made not of steel, but of paper, policy, and pretense. A cage manned not by soldiers, but by smug bureaucrats, careerists in suits, who never earned a day in their lives, but now dictate yours. They took your country and replaced it with a blob. A cold, self-replicating machine of ideological rot that feeds on your labor, mocks your values, and laughs at your suffering. I know because I lived it. I played by the rules. I studied, worked, married, built a career, and then I watched as the rules changed. Not for everyone, but for me. I was punished for being honest, for being male, for owning property, for speaking truth. My taxes funded programs that harmed people like me while protecting those who despised me. I saw courts weaponized, laws twisted, language corrupted. I was told to be quiet, to adapt, to get with the program, but I refused, and that refusal cost me my job, my marriage, my peace. But it also gave me something far more valuable: clarity. This book is not for the comfortable. It is not for those who still believe the system works, or that both sides have merit. It is not for women who think feminism has helped them, or men who believe equality means fairness. This book is for those who have been crushed by the machine and are finally waking up. For men who have been labeled toxic for wanting to provide. For fathers denied access to their children. For taxpayers who see their money fund open borders while their own neighborhoods decay. For those who sense the lie but can't name it. Until now, the blob is real. It is not a conspiracy theory. It is the observable reality of Western governance. A uni-party state run by postmodern elites who produce more of themselves while destroying the civilization that created them. They use human rights rhetoric as a battering ram against property rights, citizenship, and natural law. They have turned the civil service into a priesthood of ideology, enforcing communist outcomes without a single vote. They have created a two-tier justice system where connections matter more than truth, and where men, especially white, heterosexual, property-owning men, are presumed guilty by default. If you've been on the wrong end of this, you know exactly what I mean. I wrote this book because no one else would. The media won't tell you the truth. Academia won't teach it. Politicians won't touch it. They are all part of the blob. But I am not. I have nothing left to lose, and I have everything to expose. Inside, you will find the machinery of control laid bare, how the paper coup was executed, how intersectionality became the new aristocracy, how feminism evolved into a legal weapon against men, how the trivium logic, rhetoric, grammar was exiled to make room for emotional blackmail and ideological compliance. You will learn how the administrative state bypasses democracy, how the woke cathedral operates like a religion, how language itself has been weaponized to silence dissent. This is not theory, this is autopsy. I have dissected the corpse of the West and found the parasites feeding on its organs, and I will name them all. If you are part of the blob, a bureaucrat, a diversity officer, a gender studies professor, a feminist activist, a social justice warrior, close this book now. Walk away. Find a coloring book or a support group. This truth will not comfort you. It will expose you. It will humiliate you. You are not the hero of this story. You are the problem. But if you are a man who has been lied to, used, discarded, if you want to reclaim your mind, your rights, your future, then this book is your weapon. It is not kind. It is not balanced. It is not fair. Truth is not fair. Truth is brutal. And this book delivers it like a hammer. You will learn how to think again, how to argue, how to resist. You will rediscover the trivium, the ancient tools of reason that built the West, and that can rebuild it. You will see the patterns, the lies, the traps, and you will break free. This is not just a book. It is a rescue mission for you, for your sons, for the West. Read it, learn it, use it, or remain a slave. Blob State: How Postmodern Elites Eat the West from Within. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.